book, How Children Succeed, challenges the assumption that the best way for kids to do well is by cramming as much information into their heads as possible. He cites research that shows kids do better over the long haul if the focus is more on developing character traits instead of memory work. He defines character as having attributes like concentration, focus, and discipline. Students who learn to persevere and know how to complete a task will build a foundation for a much better life. He's by no means in opposition to the traditional learning methods, but he believes character development is the chief component of success. His emphasis reminded me of the research study in the 60s and 70s called the marshmallow test. This study determined that children who were deferred gratification were more competent and successful later in life. Skills and competencies can be taught. Good chemistry with teammates is important too, but it's virtually impossible to maintain a winning team without strong character. Without this key ingredient, success will most likely be sabotaged. Now, a short reading from Romans 5, 1 through 5. Therefore, having been justified by faith, we have peace with God through our Lord Jesus Christ, through whom we also have access by faith into this grace in which we stand, and rejoice in hope of the glory of God. And not only that, but we also glory in tribulations, knowing that tribulation produces perseverance, and perseverance character, and character hope. Now hope does not disappoint, because the love of God has been poured out in our hearts by the Holy Spirit who was given to us. You are listening to Perceptions on WMAD 24-Hour Global Radio.
Hello, this is Baron Glass, host of the Smoking Glass Hour with Baron Glass on the all-new #1 global radio station, WMAD. Before I do my live broadcasting, I always dine in at the all-new Main Street Seafood Restaurant located in downtown Columbia, Louisiana, owned and operated by Miss Brett. Check them out. I did.
Good afternoon. Welcome to the Smoking Glass Hour with Baron Glass on WMAD 24-Hour Global Radio. Over the last week or so, we've tried to educate just about everybody under the listening voice of the Smoking Glass Hour. We have talked about marijuana becoming an election issue in 2016. We've talked about one step closer for medical marijuana in the state of Louisiana. We've talked about from the boardroom to the living room. We've talked about why should you vote in local elections. We also talked about juvenile delinquency, the cause and effect. We tried to tell you about getting to know your community. We've even went so far as to talk about local politics in Caldwell Parish, Columbia, Louisiana. We've also talked about no one is born a racist. We even delved into the concept of the pros and cons of Common Core. Again, we've covered local and state politics. We've tried to do everything that we knew possible to educate people about what's going on nowadays in society. 2015 is totally different than the year of 2000. The year of 2000 is totally different than it was in 1985. And the way we learned in 1985, it's almost impossible to learn that same way in 2015. If we even look at 1985, it was different than 1965, 1970, 1975, 1980, 1985, so forth and so on. So tonight, I'm going to use the subject, the importance of education in 2015. Now, I know that there are some people that's out there who are still celebrating the Triple Crown winner, American Pharaoh, and I had the privilege of interviewing the last person to win the Triple Crown, which was Ronnie Turcotte, who rode Secretariat. We had, as a matter of fact, when one of the first broadcasts that I ever did on the Smoking Glass Hour was with Ronnie Turcotte, and he was the jockey who rode the horse Secretariat. And it was a wonderful experience to listen to this man who sat in the iron while he won the Triple Crown. And if you don't know anything about the Triple Crown race, then go out there and research it, and it'll give you a whole lot of information about what's going on. Now, if you want to tell a neighbor, tell a friend, tell them to go to www.thesmokingglasshour.com and ask them to go down to the Importance of Education. You will see broadcasting live. And all you have to do is click the play button. And when you click the play button, you will hear my voice. And you will be able to tune in. So if you message me, if you're on Facebook and you message me and you tell me that you're out there listening, what I will do is give you a personal shout out and say, thanks to such and such for tuning in from this place or that place. Because I love to try to engage all of our listeners that are out there, because we at the Smoking Glass Hour with Baron Glass on WMAD 24-hour Global Radio, we love to make sure that you are involved. Again, if you want to listen, all you have to do is go to www.thesmokingglasshour.com. Soon as the page load up, you're going to see the Smoking Glass Hour online streaming music, talk radio. Right beneath that, you'll see a black label that has the that you are aware of what's going on. Because once again, we like to keep you engaged in the process. Now, let's look at tonight's subject. And tonight's subject, again, it's the importance of education in 2015. Go to school, okay? And when they say that, these are the words that are heard all too often, almost around the globe. Okay? Some might say, well, why should I have to sit in a classroom learning things when I could be out doing something else in the outdoors, fishing, or doing whatever it is that they may want to do? Now, let's think about it. Knowledge is power. And power is unfortunately something that is hard to come by in these days in 2015. Now, grade school education, we know, is exceptionally important for proper human development. But what about all of these post-secondary educational aspects that are out there? Let's look at maybe college. Let's look at maybe technical school. Let's look at maybe trade school. Let's look at maybe vocational education. Is a college degree really necessary? And some may ask, if so, is it worth the immense amount of debt that so many of us are in after going to college? Now, education is important, and it is a subject that is at the top of the list, and it is up for debate. But it can be hard to deny the importance of knowledge in everyday life. Now, if you look at the Louisiana State Legislature, I believe they just did another round of budget cuts, and the very first area that they cut, or one of the first areas that they cut, guess what? Was in education. Okay, and when we look at education, you know, I'm trying to make sure that everybody understands. I want to send a shout out to just sent in Kenitra Wooten, that's out there listening, saying that this is her first time listening. I want to say thank you for listening in to the Smoking Glass Hour with Baron Glass. We're talking tonight about the importance of education in 2015. So if you have kids, you need to make sure that you at least try to tune in, because we're going to make sure that you know as much as you can about education. Now let's look at education, let's say beyond the grades. we know that education is about far more than the marks that you'll receive on a report card or the marks that you'll receive from taking a test. It's about understanding, okay? Understanding right from wrong and having the knowledge you need to stay afloat in today's society, okay? Today's society, 2015. It helps to develop your perspective on the world around you, and it will push you to think both creatively and conceptually about many different subjects in life. Now, the many different subjects, they only start once you leave the 12th grade, because when you go from the 12th grade to your first semester in college, it is like night and day. Now, without education, our sensory information would simply be lost. And I mean lost. Now, we know education allows us to process the information we receive on a daily basis, and it makes a conclusion and emphasis based on what we already know. Let's take, for instance, 1 plus 1. Okay, 1 plus 1 equals 2. 2 plus 2 equals 4. 4 plus 4 equals 8. So forth and so on. But now, when you look at this concept, we know now that Common Core is totally different. Now, I want to also send a shout out to my good friend out there, Pastor A.F. Riggins, senior pastor, founder, Real Life Church out of Houston, Texas. He's also a teacher out there in the Houston area, and he's listening, says that it's loud and clear, and I wish Pastor Riggins could come on right now. He can at some point in time. You can also catch him tomorrow night live on Blog Talk USA, Wrap It Up Live, and he has some great subjects that he talk about. Now, you can also catch him live on Tuesday nights at 7 o'clock p.m. Central Standard Time on www.thesmokingglasshour.com. And let me give you a better reference as to how you can catch Pastor Riggins out. Now, Pastor Riggins is a teacher as well. Okay, you can catch Pastor Riggins at www.thesmokingglasshour.com/real-life-with-af-riggins.html. That's Pastor A.F. Riggins, senior pastor, founder, Real Life Church out of Houston, Texas. Now, when we look at the career advancement, talking about education, it is a reality that many employers are looking for employees who have some sort of post-secondary education, at least some post-secondary education. Now, we know again that college is not for everybody, and I'm not insinuating or suggesting that college is for everybody. You learn all you can, and then you try to apply it the best way that you can. Now, this education, we know, it shows that they had a particular interest in a field that they wanted to progress in. And it proves that they took additional classes that will allow them to achieve and progress in their desired field. Let's take, for instance, computer science. Let's take, for instance, broadcasting. Okay, let's take, for instance, history. And let me tell you, Pastor Riggins is a history teacher. And this guy knows a lot about history. And let me back up a little bit further. Let me back up. You can also catch Pastor Riggins every morning at between 7 and 7:30 p.m. Central, 7 and 7:30 a.m. Central Standard Time on WMAD 24-hour Global Radio. And what we do there, Pastor Riggins has some type of powerful sermon, of some type of powerful word of God to allow you to step on the devil before you go out on your everyday workforce. So again, we're making moves in 2015 at WMAD 24-hour Global Radio. So, I have to make sure that I support all of those people out there that are a part of WMAD, and Pastor Riggins is one of them. Now, we also want to let you know, Pastor Riggins will be live and in person here in Caldwell Parish next Friday afternoon. He'll be visiting myself, my mother, and some of the others that are involved in WMAD, and we are really looking forward to seeing and talking with Pastor Riggins. Now, we know that since most college students are focused on a particular career path, it gives a much more in-depth look into a subject that may not be covered in the earlier years of schooling. And that includes elementary through sixth grade, junior high, high school, and the beginning of college. If you are applying for a job, let's look at that, as a social worker, yet don't have a degree in that field, guess what? Here's a simple question. Do you think you'll get a job over someone who has their master's degree in social work? What I'm going to do, I'm going to let you mull on that question that I just asked. Now, if you're applying for a job, and we're going to take, for instance, social work, and you don't have a degree or no type of post education in social work, do you think you'd get the job over someone who has their master's degree in social work? And I'm going to make it even a little more simple. If they have their bachelor's degree, do you think you're going to get that job? We're going to pause for a moment, for about a minute and 58 seconds. We're going to let you listen to some perception, and I'll be right back. You're listening to the Smoking Glass Hour with Baron Glass on WMAD. It's about 8:59 p.m. Central Standard Time. Stay tuned.
A clever commercial shows a man who's very frustrated with his TV provider. He hits the arm of his chair in anger. His cute little daughter sees him and, wearing a devious smile, imitates him. Just like her dad, she smacks something too. A decade passes. She's now a teenager. She again is an imitator of her father. This time she smacks a tray held by a high school principal. She is expelled from school. She starts hanging out at the wrong places with the wrong crowd. She meets and marries an undesirable boyfriend. The next scene shows that she is a mom and her toddler is wearing a dog collar. The commercial concludes with an urgent appeal to switch service providers. Don't let your grandson wear a dog collar. Get DirecTV. The humorous ad illustrates how simple actions and habits can result in major consequences. One thing truly leads to something else. It can work in either direction, for good or for bad. It's worth remembering that someone's always watching the example we are setting. We never know the impact we're making on another. Now a reading from Titus 2, verses 6 through 8. Likewise, exhort the young men to be sober-minded, in all things showing yourself to be a pattern of good works, in doctrine showing integrity, reverence, incorruptibility, sound speech that cannot be condemned, that one who is an opponent may be ashamed, having nothing evil to say of you. You are listening to Perceptions on WMAD 24-hour Global Radio.
We're back broadcasting live about 9:01 p.m. Central Standard Time. You're on the Smoking Glass Hour with Baron Glass on WMAD 24-hour Global Radio. Tonight's topic, the importance of education in 2015. Now, I ask you the question, if you're applying for that particular job, and we're taking social work, for example, and you don't have a degree, do you think you'd get the job over someone who has a master's degree, a bachelor's degree, or even an associate degree in social work? Now, there are occasions when that may happen if you are well connected, if you are born with a silver spoon in your mouth, or if you have somebody that's high ranking that you are associated with. Yes, all of those things play a role. But in some situations, when those issues are not there, you're not going to get the job. And again, I'm not suggesting that you go to college if you do not want to go to college. Now, we know that education, it helps build people as individuals. It helps them grow as an individual. It even opens up your mind to many things that you haven't been exposed to before, like when you go to college. And classrooms allow for healthy discussion on difficult subjects. Now, let's take a difficult subject. Let's take racism, for example. It's almost impossible to get people to engage in that conversation. Well, guess what? The Smoking Glass Hour with Baron Glass, we do it all the time on Facebook. Why? Because we allow other people to give their point of view even if we don't like that point of view, even if we don't understand that point of view, because sometimes people are saying things that they are ignorant to the fact of, but we let them talk about it, and then we come back and give them our point of view. And when we give our point of view and their point of view, and we mix and create this ingredient, we end up knowing a little bit more about each other than we did before. Now, education also introduces you to a different type of culture, a different type of religion. And it gives you a better thought process that you may never have been exposed to otherwise. Now, we know that education provides a stepping stone to the real world, offering many different courses on proper financial techniques, life planning, personal development, marriages, how to build a home, so forth and so on. Now, that's all part of the character building, okay, of education. Again, education is important. Now, you can self-educate yourself by learning about things, getting outside of your comfort zone, getting outside of the box that you live in, or come from outside of that glass house that you might stay in that you're throwing stones. Remember, you don't want to throw stones if you're in a glass house, because if somebody throw it back at you, you will be exposed. Now, how could you ever build proper time management skills without a 10-page paper and the final exam looming over your head? This is just a question to you now. I must admit myself that I procrastinated a couple of times with high school assignments, college assignments, and so forth and so on. But now, learning how to work well under pressure is an equally valuable piece of knowledge, and it comes through education. In most jobs now, you won't be given an entire month to finish an assignment. That's really tough. Sometimes someone will drop off a stack of papers and put them on your desk, and they will expect you to have that job completed by the end of the day. So if you go in at 8, at 8:01, you have this assignment. At 4:30 or 5 o'clock, that assignment must be completed. Now, if you've never experienced that sort of a crunch, it can be difficult to get your gears working fast enough to complete any assignment. Now, let me ask you another question. Have you been reading the headlines lately about voting rights? Let's look at Bruce Jenner, or whatever you want to be called. Let's look at anything dealing with progress. Anything dealing with progress. Now, I personally myself, I spend a decent amount of time reading technological things, scientific advancements, and most of it never fails to blow my mind. And I'm almost certain my good buddy, my good friend out there, Pastor A.F. Riggin, does the same thing, especially being in history. Now, am I the only one who's a little afraid of what they call Google Glass? Now, are you blown away by a sudden burst of 3D print machines that are popping up and creating everything from human oranges, human, edible foods, everything, printing organs, so forth and so on. It is almost too much for some of us to have. Now, let's bring it closer on. Let's look at a smartphone. 99% of the people that go out and buy a smartphone, they end up having to go and deal with a young child who is now growing up in this technological world to get them to program the phone, to show them how to use the phone, to show them how to text message, to show them how to send pictures, to show them how to use videos, so forth and so on. So we have to make sure that we're furthering our education. Now, the worst thing that you can do is harness a person's talent and put them to good use without letting them flourish. Okay, in a world without education, man, we would not be nearly as vast as we are. Now, is education for everyone? Ask yourself the question, is education for everyone? Okay, I have to be honest. Some people just are not cut out for post-secondary education. And we as a society, we must understand and we must realize that education is not for everybody. So stop trying to make your friends go to school. Stop trying to make your kids go to school if they're barely making it in high school based on their ability that God has given them. Now, that isn't to say that these people aren't smart enough or driven enough. They simply have other parts in their life to take on. And that's perfectly okay. If you rather be an artist or a musician or a carpenter, you can learn many different time management techniques and character building skills without ever needing to set foot in a classroom after high school. Now, if you are a creative person or you prefer to go into a specific trade, the chances are you don't need to waste your time sitting in a lecture after lecture school, absorbing information that does not interest you, parents, because you didn't go to college and you want your kid to go to college because you didn't go. You might be sending them down a path of destruction. I've seen it happen too many times. Now, when we look at these $50,000 a year price tag jobs, that is on so many colleges these days. I don't blame a person for trying to send or coerce somebody to go to college. But when the smoke clear and the dust settle, we have to look at the reality. The bottom line is this. What you do in life are your own choice. Where do you see yourself in 5 years professionally? Okay, what about 10 years down the road? While some people may want to be the CEO of a successful company, others may be perfectly happy spending their days working hard on their farm, training their horses, mowing the lawn or having their own lawn service, having their own carpentry service, having their own electrical company, so forth and so on. These two life paths require two very different education. Now, one will require post-secondary schooling, whilst the others will require knowledge from the college of life. Now, we're going to pause just for a minute. We're going to listen to a little perception, and I will be right back. Stay tuned.
Can you answer these questions? Where was the Declaration of Independence signed? At the bottom of the page. What is the main reason for divorce? Marriage. What can you never eat for breakfast? Lunch and dinner. What looks like half an apple? The other half. How can a man go 8 days without sleeping? He can sleep at night. How can you lift an elephant with one hand? You'll never find an elephant with one hand. If you had 3 apples and 4 oranges in one hand, and 4 apples and 3 oranges in another hand, what would you have? Very large hands. If it took 8 men 10 hours to build a wall, how long would it take 4 men to build it? No time. The wall is already built. How can you drop a raw egg onto a concrete floor without cracking it? Concrete floors are very hard to crack. If you throw a red stone into a blue sea, what will it become? Wet. While some answers are less than complete, they make sense in its own way. It's a reminder about the power of perception. Life is truly how we see it. Now a reading from Isaiah 43, verses 18 and 19. Do not remember the former things, nor consider the things of old. Behold, I will do a new thing. Now it shall spring forth. Shall you not know it? I will even make a road in the wilderness and rivers in the desert. You are listening to Perceptions on WMAD 24-hour Global Radio.
We're back broadcasting live with the Smoking Glass Hour with Baron Glass on WMAD 24-hour Global Radio. Tonight's topic, the importance of education in 2015. And once again, we know that education is important. Whether you have a post-secondary education, whether you self-educate yourself, the point is you can't stop the very moment you graduate from high school. Now, if you're interested in gaining a college education, but you don't have the funds to do so, let's start to remember, don't get discouraged. There are plenty of opportunities that are out there to gain financial aid at most colleges of your choice. Now, some may ask, how do I afford a college education? If the stars don't align up to let you attend college when you want, you have the rest of your life ahead to continue to try to find your education. Now, I believe personally that education can allow you to keep up with the world. I also believe that education can help you understand the world that you live in. I also believe that education can save you from being fooled or cheated. Education can also make you self-dependent. It can also provide a happy and stable life. Now, we have done shows before that have indicated, let's take for instance homelessness. And we know that there are a lot of people that are out there who are homeless, that have PhDs, have doctorates, PhD, have maybe law degrees, maybe have master's plus 30s. Sometimes people are just a paycheck or 2 or 3 away from being homeless. So we have to make sure that we are trying to educate everybody. Getting a message in from Pastor A.F. Riggins that says, I like the perceptions, slip the world into the people. Slip the world into the people. And again, if you are out there listening and you would like for your name to be personally called, because I can see you out there listening, but I just don't call people out. My pastor always say, it's better to be asked up than be asked out. So I'm never going to put somebody on the spot. Now, I will tell you, we got Houston, Texas out there listening. We got Dallas, Texas out there listening. We got South Louisiana out there listening. We got a part of D.C., Baltimore out there listening. We got North Carolina out there listening. We have Central Louisiana that's out there listening live. We have Western Louisiana that's out there listening live. And my good friend, my 8th grade student that's out there from Winfield, Louisiana, he's out there listening live. So, again, we're talking the importance of education in 2015. Pastor Riggins, I know you're out there. Send me something that I can share with the audience based on you being in the classroom about education, why you feel as a history teacher working on your master's plus 30, trying to get out of the classroom and deal with something else maybe from the administrative level. Because I believe Pastor Riggins and I talked, and he indicated to me that the classroom, all the mandates and those things, they have created such a burden inside the classroom that most people just don't want to be. Well, let me not say most. Some people are leaving the classroom of many years and going out doing other things. Now, if you're ignorant, you won't be able to understand racism. If you have an education or somewhat of an education, you might be able to understand. So what I'm going to do right now, I'm going to pause and play you just a little racism spot, and maybe you can get it and you can help promote. Well, it's something that we all have to deal with, but we at least need to try to make life better. I'm going to pause for about a minute and I'll be right back.
Racism. The belief that all members of each race possess characteristics or abilities specific to that race, especially so as to distinguish it as inferior or superior to another race or races. Baron Glass, host of the Smoking Glass Hour with Baron Glass, each and every Monday night at 7:30 p.m. Central Standard Time on the #1 global 24-hour radio station, WMAD.
Join my co-host, April Ayala, and I as we make an attempt to bring this evil system and a way of life for some to the forefront and have an open discussion with civility and honesty with hopes of minimizing this problem that has affected so many lives. We ask that you join us. We all can make a change, and we surely can make a difference. Once again, we are back broadcasting live with the Smoking Glass Hour with Baron Glass on WMAD 24-hour Global Radio. We're looking at about 9:18 p.m. Central Standard Time. We want to say I hope that everybody was able to go out and experience some of those famous, world famous, I should say, Lounge Club hot dogs. And I believe tonight will conclude the rodeo. And the rodeo was Thursday, featuring the parade, Friday night, and tonight, which the parade will end. So we hope that everybody that participate did what they wanted to do. We know that some will not win. Some will walk away not necessarily with the prize, but they will be a winner for just getting in there and competing. And again, we want to also say that we have a new Triple Crown winner, American Pharaoh. And I believe Secretariat was the last one who did it, who won that race. And the jockey was Mr. Ronnie Turcotte. And again, I had the privilege of interviewing Ronnie for 2 hours. You can go back in the archives and listen to that entire show on www.thesmokingglasshour.com. And again, let me make sure that we understand. Tomorrow morning, we will be featuring Pastor A.F. Riggins. What we will start out rather with Mr. Nicholas Gonzalez with Faith Matters at 7:30 a.m. Central Standard Time. At 9 o'clock a.m., we will feature Real People, Real Life, Real Answers with Pastor A.F. Riggins. And then tomorrow night, we will also feature Pastor Riggins with Wrap It Up Live, and it can be heard at 8 o'clock p.m. So we're going to make sure that we do as much as we can to get the information out there to you, to the listening audience. Because remember, when you go on a national level, I always ask this question: aren't you tired of hearing from national media trying to control what it is that you do, how you should think, how you should live, who you should vote for, so forth and so on? Now, I'm getting a message right here that says, I'm going to read it. It's from Pastor Riggins. Politics is driving money in education. So whoever is in power determines how the money is invested in education. Then with the money comes conditions that affect the educator in the classroom. So the teacher loses control of education, affirm with the last one. Now, we know that Secretariat was the last in 1978. Thanks, Pastor Riggins. And now, some many years later, 30 plus years later, we now have a new, person that's out, new a jockey to, actually win. So again, we really want to make sure that everything is going well. I'm receiving Facebook friend requests from a lot of people right now. I'm not exactly sure who all these people are, but hey, thanks for sending a Smoking Glass Hour friend request. My page is basically open to the public, so it's almost customary that I don't necessarily accept the friend, because you can see my page anyway. You can see what I'm talking about. You can see the updates. Now, if you really want to get involved, because guess what, the Smoking Glass Hour is always doing live talk shows. I may come up with a thought instantly. So if you want to be aware of those instant thoughts that creates or end up becoming a broadcast, get your cell phone and text 81010 and put in the subject line the @ WMAD. That will send me a message, and I will be able to send you a message each and every time that we're going to be out there broadcasting live. Again, you're listening to the Smoking Glass Hour with Baron Glass on WMAD 24-hour Global Radio. We're looking at about 9:23 p.m. Central Standard Time. Let me switch over to local politics right quick. We know that the upcoming election is October 24th. We also know that the early voting dates are October the 10th through the 17th. Now, we know that we have several, candidates that are running for sheriff. Mr. Clay Bennett, Mr. Mitch Breton, Mr. Hank Balls, Mr. David Crane, Mr. Courtney Dunn, and I believe there may be some other individuals that are out there running. For the clerk of court, we have Mr. David May, we have Miss Cherie Cox, we have Miss Dina Domain, we have Miss Lauren Rogers Young, and we have Mr. Greg Richardson. We know that we have the gubernatorial election, we have the lieutenant governor's race, we have the attorney general's race, we have the police juror races. So if you're out there listening and you want to feature your local parish, contact the Smoking Glass Hour at www.thesmokingglasshour@gmail.com. Now, you can also catch us out there on several different sites. You can catch us on Facebook. You can catch us on Twitter. You can catch us on LinkedIn. You can catch us on Instagram. You can catch us on Pinterest. You can catch us on Google+. You can catch us also on WordPress and several other places that are out there. Now, we will be featured at some point, hopefully. Guess what? On iHeartRadio. And again, coming up in the very near future, hopefully within the next week, you can listen to us live directly from TuneIn Radio. Right now, you can go, as of today, you can go to the Smoking Glass Hour website. You can actually hear us now live from your cell phone. If you have a smartphone, you can hear us live and in color. Okay, now, we also know that we have Pastor A.F. Riggins, senior pastor, founder, Real Life Church out of Houston, Texas. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to pay a little homage to Pastor Riggins. I'm going to let you hear one of his commercials live. Pastor A.F. Riggins, senior pastor, founder, Real Life Church out of Houston, Texas. Here we go.
Hello, this is Pastor A.F. Riggins of Real Life Church, Houston, Texas. We welcome you to hear our broadcast every Tuesday night right here on Blog Talk USA and WAD Radio, www.smokingglasshour.com. Real people, real life, real answers, a Bible study. Every morning on WAD Radio and SmokingGlassHour.com, 7 a.m., Monday through Friday, you hear Word of God, a sermon. And on Sunday mornings at 9 a.m., same place, you can hear a Word of God. If you're in the Houston area, come and visit us at the Real Life Church, 2703 Highway 6 South, Suite 150 in Houston, Texas. 10:45 a.m. is our worship. Also, you can tune in to Blog Talk USA on Sunday nights at 8 p.m. for Wrap It Up Live. Community issues with real people, real life, and real answers. This is Pastor A.F. Riggins. Looking forward to seeing you soon. Looking forward to hearing you in our broadcast. Remember, prayer still works. That's good news. That's the power in the name of Jesus to break every chain. Amen.
We are back broadcasting live with the Smoking Glass Hour with Baron Glass. You just heard from Pastor A.F. Riggins. Remember, prayer still does work. And Pastor Riggins is not afraid to bring you the word. He don't add to. He don't take away. Let me just give you a little further info. We just started from the very first book of Revelations, the first chapter, went to the final chapter, 22, in its entirety. And that's the first time in my life I have ever heard any pastor from any congregation to preach the entire book of Revelation. And guess what? You can go back and listen to the archives of any chapter that Pastor Riggins spoke from regarding the word. And it was dynamite. And the word is always dynamite when you know the word. We know that things can, do better when we learn to do better. Now, we also know that there are going to be people that's out there doing, this, doing that, so forth and so on. So I want to make sure that I always, and not just me, but my listening audience that's out there, please support Pastor Riggins in his ministry on WMAD 24-hour global radio, because when we all join together, the Bible tells us that united we stand, divided we fall. And we know that in certain aspects of this country and this world, there's a great divide. And the Bible tells us that there will be a great falling away from the teaching and the word. So we want to make sure that everybody is aware of what's going on out there. And I want to say thanks to everyone who decided to listen to tonight's subject, the importance of education in 2015. And I'm hoping that there was something that has been said that will tweak your mind and get you more motivated, get you involved, so you can get up, you can stand by me, and you can help make a difference, if not in your community, in your town, in your state, and maybe even across the country. So let's tell a neighbor, tell a friend. The Smoking Glass Hour with Baron Glass is on the move in 2015. We are trying our best to reach every door that's out there. Remember, we are bringing politics from the boardroom to the living room. And you don't have to get up out of your lounging chair. You can be around your swimming pool. You can even be out there in the wintertime hunting. All you have to do is turn on your cell phone, put your earplugs in, and you will be able to be enlightened on some subject. Once again, we have talked about a variety of subjects in only a week's time. In a week's time, we have talked about, like I said, the importance of education. Some people, I'm willing to bet, did not know anything about medical marijuana being one step closer in the state of Louisiana from becoming law. We talked about, once again, juvenile delinquency, the cause and effect. We talked about why should you vote in local elections. You can go back and listen to the archive. We talked about getting to know your communities. We talked about no one is born a racist. We talked about pros and cons of Common Core. So we are out there. We are on the move, and we're trying to make sure that we include everybody that's out there. If you go on the Smoking Glass Hour and you look at contact us under the staff column, you will see that there are women. There are, matter of fact, there's only one man that's on the staff. They are white, they are black, they are female. So we have what we call diversity. We have what we call a rainbow. Once again, we don't just talk the talk, we walk the walk. So if you're out there listening, you have a product that you're trying to market, we have some excellent advertising package. So those candidates that are out there running, I'll give you a prime example. You may have your $200 budget. Well, $200 might get you 60, 80, 100 commercials between 30, 45 seconds in a minute. You can also go on there. When you go on the link, you'll see 2 live spots where you can have your video there for 24 hours a day, 7 days a week for the entirety of your candidacy. So again, we're out there trying to do the right thing. We're out there trying to make a difference. We're not trying to compete with no one that's out there doing what they like to do. We're just doing what we want to do, and we're trying to include anybody. Tell a neighbor, tell a friend. We're looking at about 9:31 p.m. Central Standard Time. You're listening to the Smoking Glass Hour with Baron Glass on WMAD. I want to say thanks for tuning in, and may you have a wonderful night. Good night.